Hello there, everybody. Hey, it's Steve, and I've got Nick Larimore, our head commissioner, with me here this week. Tim is has a day off, so Nick agreed to join me for the live stream here today. What's going on, Nick?
What's going on, Steve? How you doing?
Good, good. How many? Give me a problem that you've dealt with today.
Oh, not too many. Not too many.
Oh, okay.
No. We're doing well today. Yeah.
Good for you. That's good news. I felt I was worried you were going to tell me give me a 3-hour monologue about problems.
No, I don't complain. I'm not a complainer.
That is true. I have to say, the people who do the commissioning, I know you, Tim, Jay, you guys are all very low key, very cool about things and stuff like that. I'd be a horrible commissioner. I would be telling people off and stuff. It would be really bad. So, well,
here's the thing. I'm in 12 leagues too myself, personal leagues. So I'm a beta user. So I'm a user myself just as much as, I'm a fan and a user just as much as I am a commissioner, So I understand where everyone's always coming from for the most part.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. But after hearing about people complaining for an hour straight or something, I'd be like, I'm done. Peace out. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right, very good. So we thought we'd talk about, we were an hour late. Sorry about that. Hopefully this doesn't mess with everybody's day. I can't imagine, but tell us who's here. I see a few people are here. Post in the chat who's here. Don't forget to hit the like button. Give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate it. But yeah, the hour late's basically Tim's not here. I had to be somewhere. So it was one of those things. So yeah, Evan Eckert says, I'm commissioner over 20 years. They hate me. So that's what happens. Are you are you the worst commissioner ever? I thought that's Mike Trout, right?
Oh, no.
Did you hear about the Mike Trout being called the worst commissioner ever?
No, I haven't heard this one.
Oh, you didn't hear about this? Okay. So you didn't hear about the two outfielders, Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham, getting into a fight?
Yeah.
Okay. And a couple days later, it comes out that the fantasy football league that they're disputing about, the commissioner is Mike Trout, as in the Angels outfielder Mike Trout, possibly the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. Wow. And so, but Tommy Pham basically called him the worst commissioner in the history of fantasy football.
That's funny.
I know. I'm Mike Trout has umpteen $1 million. He should just he could hire somebody to do that.
When we get baseball, we know who to have as our sponsor, Mike Trout.
No, I don't think so. I think he'd like it here though. If Mike, if you're listening by chance, or anybody who knows Mike Trout, if you happen to know Mike Trout, tell him to move his league to Dynasty Owner. We take care of everything. Nick will be your commissioner. You won't have to worry about anything. When Tommy Pham gets mad, he can just call Nick and yell at Nick. Or if Jock Peterson is doing some funny IR stuff with his players, and somebody's got to lay down the law, it's Nick. It's not Mike Trout. Mike Trout, you can worry about hitting baseballs and catching things in the outfield and, trying to get the Angels to the playoffs. And Nick will take care of the fantasy football for you.
I got you. Let him know. Yeah, we got you.
It's like having your own personal chef and things like that. I don't know why he's not taking advantage of this. It boggles my mind. I'm not sure why he's being the commissioner, but anyway, so
was it fantasy football or fantasy baseball?
Oh no, it was fantasy football.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, I can't remember. It's a couple days. It's 2 weeks old, but Pham accused Jock Peterson of like circumventing the IR rules in their league. And I
Okay.
guess Trout must not have like clamped down on it or something.
Right.
So, so they got into it. So,
That's fine.
Jock's, I forget, Jock's on he's been on a couple of different teams. I think he's on the Giants now, and Fam's on the Reds. And so they got into a fight in the outfield, and Fam got suspended for 3 games and all sorts of stuff.
Funny. That's funny.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway, I'm telling you, that's what we need. That's what we need. If you make a lot of money, you're a big name baseball player, any sport or something like that, and you like fantasy football, but you don't have time to be the commissioner, and you don't want to organize, you don't have to collect money. We've got Team Stake. They collect all the money.
Correct. Yeah.
And they distribute it. You don't have to worry about money or anything like that. It's a good deal.
Someone reach out to Mike Trout and let him know.
Exactly. And I'm not sure I have this authority. I know I don't have this authority, but you're going to be there. If Mike Trout moves over, I think you should be their personal commissioner.
Yeah, maybe. That's fine. I'll do that.
Yeah. Giants wear shirts during warmups that said stashing players on IR is not cheating. Depends on your league rules, Joshua. Depends on your league rules. So, all right. That wasn't a topic of conversation, but it just kind of came up organically. So if anybody's got anything else they want us to discuss today, we can do that in the middle. We can do it at the beginning, mix it in. Just let us know what you want to talk about. So I thought we'd talk about some things I thought we'd talk about is there's not a lot of news. I mean, it's kind of it's the winter time and stuff like that. So we need to talk about contracts, because there's contract news every once in a while. But we have to say, but there's not that much. So the one contract news I did see, which was surprising to me actually, was Ernest Johnson from the Cleveland Browns. He signed a tender, like one of those 1-year tenders, or tenure, by the way. When I wrote the notes, it's a tender. And yes, it's $2.443 million is the tender offer. But then it said he signed with the Browns for 1 year for $1.261 $500. I mean, that's like half of what he should have gotten, like less than half of what he should have gotten. So I thought that was interesting. I'm happy. I own him in a league, and I held on to him at $2.443 million, and now I'm getting like $1.2 million savings.
Hey. Now, do you think they're going to be keeping Kareem Hunt for the long term?
I don't know. I mean, I gotta think so. I mean, I don't know about long term. Is his contract up this year?
I think this is his last year, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would think they would. I mean, I kind of think it all depends on how the Deshaun Watson thing shakes out for them. I mean, because if that doesn't shake out for them and they get rid of Baker and they don't get Watson, I mean, where are they? I'm not sure that having Kareem, they still got Nick Chubb signed to a big contract. I mean, they're going to have to go get somebody in free agency again. I just think it's really, I'm not sure. I find it to be weird. I think Cleveland's a team that kind of like has no idea what they're going to be doing right now because they threw all their eggs in the Deshaun Watson basket, thinking that, I think they thought he might get suspended, but they'd suffer through like 6 or 8 games. But now it's like, it's
not looking good.
No,
it's looking good for him at all. And now they're getting more people that are coming out, and just the numbers that they're saying. What they said, 66 people he had, and in 17 months, it's a lot. I mean,
it's a lot of massages.
I don't want to pass. I mean, it's not even a lot of massage. It's a lot of different people, though. I mean, nobody did a good job.
Apparently not. Apparently not. So I know, but if you're Cleveland, I mean, I wouldn't be doing anything. I mean, until I knew what's going on with that situation, because it's
all guaranteed money, though, right? So I think they're screwed.
There's got to be an out somehow. I mean, they couldn't have written that contract where there's no out if he gets like.
I think so. I was reading somewhere, I heard somewhere that if he does get suspended, the amount that they can fine him for is like only $1 million.
Because his contract for this year is $1 million.
Correct.
They wrote it that way so he'd get suspended, lose as little money as possible, and then like next year. But if he gets suspended for like longer than that, like, I mean, like Calvin Ridley got a year suspension for gambling. I mean, the things Deshaun Watson has done, it's pretty bad. I mean, think about Ray Rice. I mean, he did a bad thing. I mean, he didn't actually he got suspended, but then nobody wanted to pick him up or hire him or anything. So, I mean, it's just.
I mean, this is a bigger scandal. We haven't had a bigger scandal since Ray Rice, have we? This is it.
I don't think if anybody else can. I mean, in terms of that, I don't think
as
so.
Far as player conduct, you know.
Yeah. Daniel, we could talk about Daniel Snyder, but that's a whole.
Yeah.
that's a whole nother like 7-hour podcast in his transgressions. I don't have that long to talk, honestly. So, but back to Dearness Johnson. This is a good point Dan makes, and I
saw that.
I didn't. Yeah, it's guaranteed, which makes sense. Obviously, I would take. I guess if you're him, take the 1.2 million guaranteed versus the 2.4 not guaranteed.
Incentive based.
Yeah, and maybe there's incentives. I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, these contracts come out on Spot Track, and they do a great job. Mike does a great job and stuff like that, but he can only go with what he's told, and then, you know, they change. So, I mean, we plug him in, and all of a sudden, like 2 days later, there'll be another update, and you'll be like, oh, that wasn't, you know, it did say $7 million. Like little things, like Tyler Conklin, for example, his contract was listed as $7 million a year, like 3 years, $21 million. It was actually like a little under $7 million. So we had to adjust it afterwards because it was like $25,000 less than $7 million. I mean, if you own Tyler Conklin and you still have him, not a lot of people do, you're happy. Hey, I'll take $25,000. You never know what that could do for you. But, you know, but it just goes with the show. I mean, if you go way back to Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you know, his contract had like 87 different numbers attached to it at the beginning. Yeah. You know, right. And who, you know, so
million, 30 million. Yeah, it was all over the place.
Exactly. I mean, and there's lots of guys who the contract, you know, it starts off with one number and then it finishes at a much different number. You know, just
I think because everyone wants to be the first to report something and they get some little information, but nobody has all the information, and it just takes some time for all the information to come out. And
exactly. And my understanding is that Mike gets the contracts from the agents, and so sometimes they're like they want to puff up the number, but then when they really give them the number, all of a sudden it's not as big as they said, because, you know, agents want to make themselves look good.
Yep, of course.
So that's interesting. So, but I do have other news. Do you know the Patriots signed a wide receiver today?
Only because of the notes you sent me.
And I only know because I get updates from things. It's not Julian Edelman, although he was in Croatia and he said that he might play for the Patriots. I'm not sure. I looked at the story just because I wanted to see what it was, and apparently he said something in Croatia. And I'm like, great. So this is such a slow news day NFL wise that they're running stories about Julian Edelman making comments in Croatia.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but it's not Julian. It's not Julian. I don't think he's coming back. It's little Jordan Humphrey, who used to be on New Orleans. So
are you excited about that? Are you going to hit the free agent auction tonight?
I am not even with the extra 1.2 million I'm going to save on Dearness Johnson. I will not be spending that on little Jordan Humphrey. Sorry. But a guy I might spend it on if he was available, but I don't know the contract details, is Jerick McKinnon because he re-signed with Kansas City. So, and I saw a couple people did pick him up.
Right? He's a steep check. He's the cheap stash to hold to find out the contract, because he's only what, 600, 700, I think, 695. What is he?
No, he was like $1 million, I'd say. I can't remember the number.
Okay,
we'd have to look. I have to look it up, but yeah, he was like $1 million. But I mean, that's still cheap. I mean, you know, who knows what the number is? But yeah, I mean, you don't have to have a lot. Somebody in one of my leagues bid on him, and so and I don't blame him. I missed the story when it came out, so I didn't see the that he had signed, or I might have done it. Let me
How
check
much
out
is
his
he going
contract. Hang
to
on.
for? It's not going to be much.
Oh, I mean, the announced contract isn't much, but his last year contract was $990,000. So
Okay.
there's probably there are league minimums depending on how long you're in the league. So I bet it's a teeny bit over $1 million. But if you've got if you've got $1 million, or you like $1.2 million, you could grab him. I know he might be a third down back, but I don't know. Edwards-Helaire and Ronald Jones are not scaring me in terms of like taking all the work. Not to say that McKinnon's going to like become the workhorse back, but could be worse ways to spend $1 million on Dynasty Owner, right?
I mean, for $1 million for a running back that might get you production, what else? I mean, how many of those are left on your free agent auction? There's not many.
Not many. I'll have to see how many leagues he's available in. He was available in one of my leagues, but now he isn't anymore. Yeah, he's available in 47% of leagues right now. So I might go check our beta league and see if he's available.
Yeah, I mean, it's never bad.
As Nick looks down and goes, "Oh man, he is."
How much Dynasty dollars do I have in that? No.
Do you get your just a question, Nick? Real quick question. Do you get your salary in Dynasty dollars?
No.
Okay, just checking.
It would be nice though. No. But what was I about to say? Yeah, no. I mean, to stash though a running back, I mean, it's not a bad deal. There's not many out there, so.
No, I mean, how many running backs last the whole season unscathed? I mean,
is there any? None, really. I mean, not many.
Not many. Last year, like Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon lasted the whole season. So if you had like Mike Boone, you got nothing from him. But like,
right,
that's the exception rather than the rule. I mean, I think about the Patriots. I mean, Harris was banged up a couple of games. Ramondre is banged up a couple of games. It's good to have those guys. They're hanging around. It's not, I mean,
because they're going to cost you cheaper to get now, and you'll always be able, if you need that extra wide receiver on your bench or something, you can always pick them up. There will be that guy available, but once those running backs go down, like let's say a Melvin Gordon goes down, and you do have that Mike Boone, you're better off just holding on to having that stash than trying to try to beat everyone in waiver wire once the news breaks or something like that.
Yeah, and especially because we're not like a regular waiver wire, you have to bid on it. So I mean, do you really want to bid $5 million Dynasty dollars on Mike Boone?
No.
I don't know. I'd rather just kind of keep him hanging
around. Who knows
around.
who drop? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. But the other things we should probably talk about the two big contract extensions. So we had the two big contract extensions were Hunter Renfrow and Cooper Kupp. So, I mean, the Kupp extension wasn't a surprise.
Right.
I mean, he was going to make about the same amount as Allen Robinson, and the Rams, they basically throw money around to everybody else. And Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, kind of figured they had to get the Kupp eventually. And they gave him 3 years, $80.1 million. So $26.7 million a year, which is a lot, but it's not as much as Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, or DeAndre Hopkins.
It's still a lot though.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean it's a lot, but it's not till next year. So if you have Cooper Kupp, you can still hang on to him this year and play out the season, see what happens. If you're out of contention, trade him away to somebody who is and get some stuff. But I wouldn't. I mean, this year his contract is 16.75, so that's still pretty. I can't believe I'm saying 16.75 million is pretty affordable, but it really is.
And honestly, no matter what the contract is, though, when you have that top 5 guy in any position, really, it's those points that are going to win you each from week to week. So you're going to need to figure out a way to afford a guy like Cooper Kupp anyway. Whatever he goes for, and the fact that he's going for less than some of those top guys like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams and stuff, he's still going to be 100% owned everywhere. No one's going to, you can't. If you have him, it's going to be hard to trade him unless someone really, really wants him in your league, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, and the thing is like, you don't have to spend, you don't have to be cheap everywhere. There, you do get money to spend in Dynasty Owner. It's not like you have to find, so the question is, it's always, who do you spend that money on?
Right.
You have to spend it on the right guys. Cause if you spend it on the wrong guys, you're not going to win, whereas in other fantasy leagues, you could just start picking guys up and dropping them immediately. And, you might be able to cobble it together. I mean, unless you've got a bunch of, you can't have that many amnesty provisions, and you have to keep buying dynasty dollars. So, I mean, at a certain point you have to, you have to spend your money, but you just have to spend it on the right guys.
Right.
So, the Rams did it last year. They spent a lot of money, but the guys that they spent a lot of money on, Kupp, Stafford, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, they'll play pretty well.
Yeah.
Robert Woods was playing well until he got hurt. I mean, so, they apparently they spent the money in the right spots. I mean, they got Von Miller and he played well. They just, you don't win titles with your best players playing badly or your most expensive players playing badly either, unless you're very, very, very lucky. So, but I mean, I think that's affordable. I mean, the question is, it's sort of like, would you rather have Cooper Kupp at 26.7, or would you rather have next year, or would you rather have AJ Brown at 25?
Man, those are the two teams I probably hate the most, the Rams and the Eagles. So probably AJ Brown, just because I hate the Rams more than anything as a Niners fan.
Okay.
That would be a biased opinion. That's like a biased. But realistically, I mean, probably if Cooper Kupp has the same year this year as he did last year, I think the correct answer is Cooper Kupp, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. AJ Brown got that big contract, and we have no idea if he's going to mesh well with Jalen Hurts or, the Philly offense or anything like that. At least Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, they got along pretty well.
Right, and Philly wide receivers don't have the best track record, over time. So,
agree. Yeah. Well, who's the last great Philly wide receiver? I could ask one of my friends is a big Philly fan, but Harold Carmichael?
Who's the best ever? Deshaun Jackson. That's all they've had. They've never really had anybody good.
Well, I'm going back further. Harold Carmichael. That's probably before you were born.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Anyways, that's okay. Jay, I did the same thing to Jay the other day on the podcast. I referenced something that happened before he was born.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. They've never had anybody.
They had Terrell Owens for the little bit, but it wasn't like he was on their team for 12 years or anything like that.
Doing sit-ups on the sidelines for half of,
They had him for a couple. I'm trying to. My friend has a Mike Quick jersey. Is Mike Quick really the best wide receiver they've ever had? I don't
know. Maybe.
That's
if
pretty
you don't
sad.
count Terrell Owens, I forgot about Terrell Owens, and then he did come back in that Super Bowl with that after he broke his leg.
He did, yeah.
Forgot about that, but yeah.
I'm trying to. I'm racking my. I got Harold Carmichael. I got Mike Quick. I don't have anybody since like the 90s.
Think of the last fantasy wide receiver you've ever wanted from Philadelphia. Has there ever been one?
Devonta Smith is pretty good. I might want him, but yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, now AJ Brown.
Anybody listening? Are we forgetting anybody? If you're watching, are we totally blanking on one of the great wide receivers? Yeah, Jackson. Thanks, Daniel Gross. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, really?
Thanks.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. So, but that's what we're comparing to. So yeah, AJ Brown without playing it down might be the best wide receiver in Eagles history.
Nick Foles in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. True. Don't bring that up. That's not nice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. I've got plenty of Super Bowls, so I'm okay. I'm not that mad about it. So, but the other contract was Hunter Renfrow. So, 2 years, it's 32 and a little bit of change. So it's a little over 16 million a year. So, I mean, so right now he makes $708,000. I mean, he's going to go up from that minuscule amount, which if you have him, you're loving it, to like $16 million. It starts in 2023, but I think we'll see how he meshes with, how he performs as kind of, I guess, the third option in Vegas this year. I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of still would like Hunter Renfrow. I should have made an offer when, in our league, when Yorkshire Roses put him up on the block, because he's pretty good and he fits the role. I feel like he fits the same with Josh McDaniels. He fits the same role that like Wes Welker did and Julian Edelman did. He's going to run those little patterns, get 6-7 yards of reception, and move the chains, and hopefully Carr gets him the ball still, and then they'll throw the big ones to Adams.
I think he's going to be a guy next year. I mean, it's nice that you're going to have that whole year to feel him out, to see what it's like with Adams for that cheap contract. But I kind of see him, once that contract kicks in, being a guy like Mike Williams this year. Someone that a lot of people drop, but he'll still be 92% owned. Like, people will go and pick him up, but you're not going to have I don't know if you're going to have too much trade value once that contract kicks in. So I think he's going to be like that Mike Williams, that for some reason, like, a lot of people dropped Mike Williams. He went once that contract kicked in, but I think he's now 92% owned. So
okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, but yeah,
just not a lot of trades for Mike Williams either,
Yeah, I can be, because I would have waited if you didn't want Mike Williams and you couldn't afford him. I mean, maybe offer a 2024 third rounder for him, just so the other person gets something.
So is that what people are going to be getting for Renfrow next year? If you have him,
depends what he does. I think it depends on what he does this year.
Right.
I mean, if he plays well, if he not to say that he's going to be Cooper Kupp or anything, but if he plays well, 16 million is not much it's a pretty good range for a wide receiver.
Fair enough.
So, he was, what was he last year? I have to look up what his ranking was last year. I'm not going to say top 10 wide receiver. I'd say top 15 wide receiver last year. And I could be, I know he was like the best value wide receiver.
31 position.
Really? 31?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Surprised.
Overall,
I thought he was
89. But yeah.
Okay. I thought he was better than that. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. But so those are the two new contracts. We'll see. Any other contract news that you know about, we want to chat about?
Not in particular. I don't think there's been too much news lately, has there? Other than I know the biggest one recently.
No, it's mostly like it's minor guy right now. And when I do the contract updates, it's like guys get waived who are rookie free agents, or somebody who's like a second year guy gets waived, like a backup tight end, and then another backup tight end gets signed. There's never major news, but at this time of the year. But once camp start, unless like something happens with Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold or anything like that, that would be big news. But nothing right now. So, all right,
you think everyone's just lowball in Cleveland for Baker? Is that what it is? They're just waiting because you have to think the Niners don't want to send Jimmy G to Seattle. That's the last place they would want to send him.
Oh yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think trading in your division is rare. I mean,
Right.
the Patriots do it a lot, but most teams
They
don't.
send the guys that they know that are done, right?
Or they get guys who they really like. I mean, they got Welker from the Dolphins. I mean, they traded Bledsoe to the Bills, but that was because they couldn't get anything else from anybody else. So they just kind of at the end said, "Okay, fine, we'll take it.
Right.
We don't need him."
Now,
But
where do you think Baker's going to end up?
that's a good question. Actually, that was one of my questions here. I was like, Baker may. So I had early predictions for 2022 as something to talk about with Nick and I had some ideas, some questions and stuff like that. So we'll give our answers and then people can follow along. And we'll post some of your answers too. So, but that was one of my questions was like, okay, Baker Mayfield plays for which team or teams during the 2022 season. So you asked me the question, so I'll start off. I'm going to say Carolina. He plays for Carolina and Carolina only. They trade him sometime during the preseason. Or during training camp or something like that. I think Carolina is going to have to do something. I don't think they want Sam Darnold around. I just, if they can get Cleveland to kick in any money towards that contract, I think they take Baker and see what happens. And, we'll see what happens. But my prediction would be Baker plays for Carolina.
It sounds like lately that's where the Panthers are really trying to make a push for him. But at this point, it doesn't sound. It sounds like the Browns. I mean, they have to get rid of him as soon as they can, right? Because it's just one less headache for them.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've already kind of gone all in with Deshaun Watson. You're not going to.
I'm hoping he ends up in the Panthers, just because then again it'll be easier to root for it than Seattle. But then it makes it interesting. If that happens, though, I don't think Jimmy G goes anywhere. I think 49ers would rather keep him than send him to Seattle.
Oh, I think there's no doubt. Yeah. I don't see Jimmy moving. I really don't. I mean, what happens if Trey Lance doesn't play well? I mean, what happens if, God forbid, I mean, not that I'm wishing for him not to play well, he doesn't play well? Or what happens if he gets hurt?
Right.
I mean, the 49ers would be playing with Nate Sudfeld as their quarterback. I mean,
it's not looking good. Yeah. So
that doesn't look good.
I agree with you. I think Baker's going to be a Panther, but I have no idea who's going to end up in Seattle. That's what I don't. I think they're going to be. It might be Drew Lock. It really might be Week 1 Drew Lock at this point.
Okay, that's possible. So, does anybody else have any predictions on where Baker ends up? I think the answer, if he gets traded soon, it's Carolina. If he hangs around, it's to whatever team loses their starting quarterback first during the offseason, during the training camp. The first quarterback to tear an ACL without a clear, decent backup, right, then Baker's their starting quarterback for the season. I mean,
because he's the best guy out there on the market now, right? Would you rather have Baker or Jimmy?
I'd rather have Jimmy, but Baker's cheaper. And
right.
Jimmy's got the shoulder thing, so who knows if he's coming back or not. I think Jimmy's not a great fantasy football quarterback, but I think Jimmy's a good quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, he's not great. I mean, he's not like one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but are there 32 better quarterbacks out there than Jimmy Garoppolo?
32? No.
Then he's technically a starter. I mean, some teams have more than 2 good quarterbacks, but yeah, I mean, if you were drafting like a kickball team, like kickball teams in high school and stuff like that, Jimmy be one of the top. I mean, if there were 32 if there were 32 football teams drafting from all the players and stuff like that, Jimmy be one of the 32 top quarterbacks taken, right?
I would think so. And now that you're saying it, you're making me wonder how much cap space does Houston have? And who's their backup behind Mills?
Yeah, I just don't think Baker goes. I don't think they're not really trying to win, so they're happy to have Mills do it and then decide on him, I think. So I don't think they take Baker, but I think a team who thinks they have playoff aspirations and like their quarterback gets hurt in the preseason or OTA, whatever, somewhere during training camp, that's when I think all of a sudden Baker's value rises and a deal is made. So we have a couple of
that head.
Yeah, we have Dave Delp said trade to Tampa and sit behind Brady for a year. That's a possibility. I mean, if Brady retires next year, I mean, are they really turning the keys over to Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert?
No.
Exactly. So then they need a new quarterback, and like you said, maybe he sits behind Brady for a year and learns, and and then moves there. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I just don't know if they can afford him. They might be able to afford him now that Brady's taking less, but I don't know. We'll see. Drew Anderson said the Browns, which is a thought. It's not outside the realm. I mean, technically, that's his team right now. If nothing happens, he's going to be on the Browns next year, in the coming season. But I think it's going to be like if a playoff team gets their quarterback hurt. I mean, think about it. Okay, I'm not wishing injuries and or anything like that. Dak Prescott gets hurt in preseason.
Yeah.
What does Dallas do?
They have to, but they would have to either trade for Jimmy or Baker, one of them.
Yeah, or find another team that suddenly finds somebody else who's willing to part with the quarterback. But I mean, yeah, you think Jerry Jones is just going to go, oh well, there goes our season. Cooper, we'll see if Cooper Rush can do it for a while, and if not, we'll go 5-11 and come back next year.
No, they would probably. They would probably trade for what's his name again, Andy Dalton.
That's. But what you're saying is that they're going to trade. They're going to find a quarterback to trade for, right? And obviously, the number one quarterback to trade for would be Baker.
Of course, yeah.
And so it's just a question of can they, in somebody like Jerry Jones, money's not really the problem.
No.
It's he'll figure out a way to circumvent the cap. So,
yep.
but that's my point. Is that like, I think it's Carolina if he gets traded beforehand, but otherwise it's basically first team that thinks they have a chance at making the playoffs who loses their quarterback in the offseason, in the preseason.
Yeah. So you'd rather take the field than either between, if you had to choose between Seattle or Panthers or field, you're taking field.
If I was betting that, if those are my options, I might take field because I think Carolina, it only works if they get the trade done now.
Right.
And Seattle really only works if they get the trade done now. Because if you're Seattle, you're not going to be like, oh, we'll go into training camp and see what happens. No, you want him there the whole time because you want him to play and do well and be your quarterback. But like another team, desperate times call for desperate measures. Hello, Baker.
Yeah.
How long will it take you to get to Dallas?
Yeah.
Not
long. No,
exactly.
Jerry Jones already has the private plane out there ready for you. Wait.
Exactly.
Fueled up.
Exactly. The plane's on the tarmac.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to fly to wherever you are, Baker.
And you don't even need to pack. We got you all new stuff. Anything.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. You can live. He'll live at Tech, that whatever they call this stadium now, AT&T Stadium.
And no taxes either. Come on over. Right?
Hey, you're selling it good. All right, Jay's with us. Hey, Jay, what's up, Jay?
Hey.
All right. So a little bit about it. So we'll go into my next question, which was okay. Let's give our picks for who's going to be the starting quarterback for the following teams week 1. The first team is Carolina. Who's your starting Carolina quarterback week 1?
Sam Darnold.
Okay. I'll say Baker. I think they're going to make a deal. They're going to trade and they're going to get rid of Baker. I mean, so anybody else? Nobody's okay. Okay. Jay says Baker. Daniel says Darnold. Okay. Nobody said no.
Cleveland Darnold, huh?
Darnold will be in Cleveland. All right. Drew, I was waiting to see if somebody would say Coral. If that's a possibility. I mean, but I mean, only 3 people answered here, and everybody gave a different response, unless somebody said, "Oh, they beat me to Darnold already."
PJ Walker still on the roster?
I don't know. He was okay. I kept him around for a couple of years. I had him last year. I was like, why would I get rid of this guy?
Well,
Donald hasn't played yeah, exactly. Donald hasn't played a full season ever, and like since he was in college. Why do I think he's going to play 17 games and stay upright for 17 games? So I had PJ Walker because he was under $1 million, and I mean, he was terrible when he played, and they end up signing Cam Newton, but I thought keeping PJ was a good idea. I mean, it wasn't a lot to stash him.
Especially if you have Darnold or something,
Oh, I didn't have Darnold. Dear Lord, no. I had him in one league, and that was a gigantic. 2 years ago, that was a gigantic mistake. After about week 7, I got tired of it, and I just got rid of him.
Get rid of him.
I just dropped him. I couldn't handle it.
Wow.
I couldn't handle it. He was being my bench quarterback, and he was getting like 3 points. He was getting crazy low points.
You dropped him when he was $8 million a year?
Yeah.
Oh wow. He's just like someone else's problem.
Yep. I was like, I could cut him, and I can't remember what I did for a quarterback, my backup quarterback at that point. Maybe I had somebody else and they were playing, and I just said I can get rid of Sam for free and find something else to do with that money. I mean, I wasn't.
Let it be someone else's problem. You knew you didn't want the contract next year, and it makes sense. Especially if you needed the wide receiver or something, you needed that cap space, and you're trying to compete. Sam Darnold isn't going to be the guy that's going to put you over the edge. So it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, my other quarterback in that league was Patrick Mahomes. So obviously I was never starting Darnold. So it was just he was my bench quarterback. So, I mean, if I could cobble together a bench quarterback out of whatever else I had in that, why not? And like you said, and get rid of
better than the negative points you're getting in the bench slot. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I cut bait on him. I forget when. At a certain point, I just got fed up with it. I was like, that was the dumbest draft pick. I made dumber draft picks, but that was a dumb draft pick I made, and I just need to get rid of it and move on. Somebody else picked them up right away too. I probably could have traded them for $1 million Dynasty dollars or something. All right. So this is what Jay says is going to happen. So what I think will happen: Browns get Darnold and a 4th. Panthers get Baker and a 6th. Okay.
Just trade some draft capital and make it even.
Yeah. If this happens, though, everybody heard it here first from Jay Pounds.
All right.
Unless this just happened like 13 minutes ago and Jay's the only one who knows. That's not fair if that's what you did, Jay. Not fair. All right. Second team, Seattle Seahawks. Who's their starting quarterback week 1? You want me to go first because I know you don't like Seattle?
I thought the whole time it was going to be Baker. So I'll go with Baker on this one.
Okay. I think it's going to be Drew. I think it's going to be Drew Lock. I don't see the reason to trade for him. I know they got rid of. I just think it's worth giving him a shot and seeing what happens. And if he's not good, then he's not good. I mean, it doesn't cost you a lot.
What's your backup behind? What's your alternative if he's not good?
It's Geno Smith again. I mean,
wow.
It's Geno Smith and go 4-12 and draft somebody and draft the quarterback next year, and take your number 3 pick and draft a good quarterback.
Wow.
All right, so Daniel Gross was with me on lock. Drew Anderson said not on the roster. All right, could happen. Could happen. I mean, Baker technically that's Baker. Your answer is Baker. Drew's is not on the roster. So I'm not sure what other quarterbacks are out there. Are they gonna get Ryan Fitzpatrick out of retirement?
He might be better than Drew Lock, no?
I don't know. I mean, it's who knows? I mean, not for Dynasty Owner unless he signs a $1 million contract. But okay, Third team, I had 4, so this is the third team. Pittsburgh. Who's your starter? Week 1.
I think Pickett's got it.
Okay. I agree. I think it's going to be Pickett. If it was Trubisky, I wouldn't be shocked out of my mind, but I think it's going to be Pickett. Let's see. We'll give Jay. We got a little time lag, so we'll see what Jay says.
If it is Trubisky, I don't give him past week 3.
Oh no, you're right. It could be Trubisky, but that's why I said week 1 because I wanted to kind of,
I think it's Pickett though.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me who's going to play the most games for them at quarterback, it's Pickett by a mile, unless he's hurt by a mile. But week 1, you could see Trubisky being the starter. Okay, Daniel said Pickett. Drew Anderson said Pickett. Jay must be trying to pretend we didn't ask the question. So we'll see. Jay's going to answer Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, right.
Okay, no, Jay. Here we go, Jay. I would go with Trubisky until he starts struggling. Okay. So.
Well, that's what you would do, but what do you think's going to happen? You think Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is going to do that?
Yeah. All right. Good question. We'll let Jay answer too. Okay, fourth team, and this one we'll see. Atlanta. Who's the Falcons starting quarterback week 1?
Mariota.
Okay. I agree.
Yeah.
I saw some stuff about Desmond Ridder. They kind of like him and he's doing well and all this stuff, but I think it's going to be Mariota. I mean, now I'll ask the question I said a second ago. Who starts more games? Who starts the most games for the Falcons this year?
Mariota. I don't think they're going to be in a rush for Ridder at all. Yeah, I don't even unless Mariota gets hurt. I don't think Ridder's going to start at all this year.
Okay, no, that's a fair answer. I think Ridder might, if they are not very good and by week 12 or 13, they're not playing very well and they have no playoff aspirations. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ridder play.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, Mario would have played 12 weeks or something. So
right.
So yeah, I agree with you on both ones. So yeah. See. I think that might be the case. Now, the caveat is if all of a sudden Atlanta plays well, Mario plays well, they have a shot at making the playoffs, then Ridder's not playing. I mean, you just kind of
if they're 6-6 even, I don't think you know what I mean? It has to be an abysmal start. They have to start 0-6, 0-7 and other than that, yeah, I don't see them being in a rush to throw him in there. And then what happens if he's terrible? Because if they're playing that bad and the teams that unless it's just all Mariota that's playing that bad and the rest of the team's playing well, they're gonna throw him into the wolves after you know what I mean? I don't see them. I just don't see him getting much playing time at all this year. I don't see them being in a rush.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I see Mariota starting and then kind of as the season goes along, there's a point where they make the change. I don't think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but stranger things have happened. All right. My next question prediction is biggest name position player cut during training camp. So you can't pick defensive guys. You got to pick somebody who's somebody owns here in Dynasty Owner.
Is there anyone that's on the? I'm trying to think. DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. That's a big name. I don't think he's getting cut, but
no, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of who would be.
Well, my reasoning for this question, like you could say Mason Rudolph. He's not a huge name, but he is kind of somebody who, at the end of up in January when Roethlisberger retired, he was kind of their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So. Okay, Daniel's. I don't agree with Dan. I don't think Daniel says Jimmy G. Oh, I love me some Jimmy G. All right. Jay had my answer to this question, which is Carson. I'm assuming you mean Chris Carson, not Carson, unless you mean Carson Wentz, which I doubt. But yeah, I mean somebody like Chris Carson, who I could also see him like injury retiring and things like that.
Kenyon Drake.
Gardner Minshew. Kenyon Drake, that's a good one. That actually Kenyon Drake's a good shot because he's kind of a little bit of an expensive side. He's not a starter. If somebody plays well in training camp, they drafted a couple of running backs. If those guys play well in training camp, they got Brandon Bolden, another guy. I mean, maybe you want Kenyon Drake's taking up $5.5 million of salary cap room, so you kind of move him along. That's the type of guy we're talking about here. Somebody who kind of makes a little bit of money, isn't a starter.
You're making room for all these other guys. I think they just spent they spent like 5 different guys, even on defense. Like they spent a lot of money, the Raiders recently, so they might have to cut spots. And they signed. You're right, Bolden. They brought with the Patriots running back over with the Josh McDaniels and stuff. So.
Yeah, and didn't they sign Jakob Johnson, the Patriot fullback, to be their fullback?
I'm not sure.
I think Ingles signed with their fullback last year. The Raiders signed with Miami, and then the Raiders signed the Patriots fullback. So,
right, yeah. So Kenyon Drake would be my answer. There you go.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's an acceptable. I mean, I'm just thinking of somebody who, in that vein, because I mean, like Chris Carson. I mean, he could be the third running back, and he's kind of was hurt. And he has a neck. I mean, if he kind of still wants to play, and Seattle's like, well, you're not going to play much for us. They might just cut him, and then maybe somebody else signs him.
Yep.
So okay, all right. Which rookie scores the most Dynasty Owner fantasy points in 2022?
Drake London.
Okay. I'm going to say Kenny Pickett only because quarterbacks score more.
Oh, fair. Okay.
I tricked you.
I was thinking you tricked me.
A little bit, but what happens if Kenny doesn't start the season?
No, I think he's going to start.
Jay said London. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the chances of most of these guesses being correct, very small, but
I think yours is I forgot quarterback. Yeah, no. I mean, unless he just plays very bad, which I don't. Yeah. No, I would. You're right, Pickett.
But I think last year, if you look at it, I think Najee had more points than Trevor Lawrence, than any of the quarterbacks.
Really?
I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he might have had more points than everybody else. I'd have to.
Mac Jones.
I think. I don't know. Let's see. Let me do. I have to launch a mock draft and kind of pretend and.
Oh, I could just go to. Who has Najee in our? So Mac Jones.
I'm terrible at that because I try to do that and I always forget who has what team.
Well, I know.
And then I end up being wrong. No, it was Najee Harris was 23rd overall, and I'm not seeing another rookie until Mac Jones at 29.
Wow.
Yeah. So last year was Najee.
Interesting.
I mean, so maybe it's Breece Hall, maybe it's Kenneth Walker.
Steelers back-to-back years.
It's possible. All right. Okay, now the other side of that, who's the biggest rookie bust of 2022?
It would be funny if it's Breece Hall, right? A Jets running back. Probably the Jets. You got to go with the Jets for.
It'd be funny if you're not a Jets fan. Yeah. Since I'm not, I'm fine with that.
I'll just go with Breece Hall, just because he's a Jet.
Not a bad guess. I'll tend to agree. I kind of agree with you. I mean, is it outside the realm of possibility that he's not everything everybody thought he was, and then Michael Carter is the running back in New York? I mean, that's not an impossible scenario, right?
That the Jets screwed up and made a terrible pick? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Very likely.
Okay. Okay, Drew said Christian Watson. Jay says Spiller. I mean, Spiller's. I guess the bust for Spiller is like he's not the backup and he barely plays. You know, because I'm not expecting Spiller to be like a top running back. I'm expecting Spiller to kind of fill in, play a little bit in blowouts, maybe third downs.
And here's the thing with Breece Hall. He could be good, but he's still going to be on the Jets. So it might not even be his fault that he ends up being a bust.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, it's not necessarily his fault. I mean, you know, the Jets do Jet things. So
yes.
But I will give credit where credit is due. They had a great draft.
That's what people say. They say that a lot about Jets drafts, and then the seasons come, and then the players don't pan out. So we'll see.
No. I know, but this is one time where everybody kind of said, like, you know, some people didn't like Zach Wilson last year. They thought, why are they taking him number 2 and stuff like that? I don't remember anybody saying, Breece Hall, that was a reach. What the heck were they doing there?
Right.
You know, so it's possible. I mean, they do have new people. Maybe something happened.
I grew up next to the stadium, and it's just I've watched them be bad for too long.
Which you grew up next to the Shea Stadium or the Meadowlands?
The Meadowlands. They play at Giant Stadium, the Jets. So
I know, but I'm old. They used to play at Shea. They played at Shea when I was a kid.
Yes, no, it's just I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
Do I ask you the question?
What's the question?
What exit?
Off the park, but 163. Everyone knows Paramus, though. I grew up in the town where all the malls are, so everyone knows that in New Jersey.
Where all the whats are?
Malls. The malls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not that familiar with North Jersey, I'll be honest. So, okay. So, very good. I mean, you know, isn't it 16W off the turnpike?
16W. I think that. Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
That makes sense.
That's the metal. I think that's the Meadowlands exit.
It takes you to Route 3. Yep.
I don't know. I would blow past it on my way south or north. So. Excellent. Very good. We learned something about Nick today. He grew up near the Jets. The Meadowlands.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very good. Did you go to a lot of New Jersey? Did you get free tickets and go to a lot of Nets games?
Actually, the Nets games we used to, when they moved to Barclays, we used to go all the time because it was that's when they were very, very bad. So during the week we can get $6 tickets for the nosebleeds. And what we would do is we just get as long as you buy 2 beers, you're fine, because when you walk up to the usher, when he asks you for the tickets, you just look at your back pocket, and then there's no one there, so you just go and get front row seats, and that's it. So yeah, we used to get $6 tickets and go to bar, and it was great because we didn't have to take the subway. So lots of Barclay trips and then they got good, but then I moved away.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we didn't talk rookie drafts because we're getting up on an hour, but I do have one last thing. And this is going to be a harder one because you might have to think about it for a little bit, but I wrote down the best value player in Dynasty Owner at each position. So like who's going to have the lowest like Dynasty dollars per point value. And to help, I gave Nick some notes and I did some research myself. Like, for example, last year, it was Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Do we think Jalen's going to repeat that?
I mean, he's such a low salary. Unless Mac Jones just blows up, I would say it's either him or Mac Jones that would be the most likely candidates, right?
Or Davis. It could be Davis Mills is less. It costs less than Hurts.
I don't see
by a little bit though.
Spectacular season though.
Okay. No, I agree. I think it's Hurts again.
Yeah.
I mean, Mac Jones would have to have twice as many points as Hurts to make that happen. So, barring injury, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's Hurts until he gets a new contract because, I mean, he's just too cheap. Or Drew Lock. Drew Lock's like 1.7, but then Drew Lock would have to do really well. Okay. All right. Jay gave guesses for the whole thing. If you're watching, you can see those. But okay. So running back. The last year it was Myles Gaskin. Because Myles Gaskin makes like $650,000 and he had 172 Dynasty Owner fantasy points. So he was a little bit less than Hurts. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to be Gaskin again. So,
with barring no injuries, I would say probably. I mean, Jonathan Taylor. He's still
yeah,
what, 1 million. I would say I would have to go with Jonathan Taylor, unless like let's say Zeke got hurt. I would say I would go with Pollard. You know, if you want to just if it was Vegas and I had to bet a long shot odds on one person, I would probably bet Pollard, hoping Zeke got hurt or something. You know,
Pollard's an acceptable answer because honestly, he doesn't need to score that many points to do this because of his salary being so low. I mean, the other guy you could have put in there, it would be like if James Robinson comes back because he's only 760,000. Damian Harris from the Patriots is a little over 900,000. But the problem with, so I mean, like Taylor would have to score twice as many points as Harris, you know, which is possible because Taylor's great and Harris could go in Belichick's doghouse and not appear for 4 weeks. We don't know. But Harris was not a bad guess either because he's just under $1 million. Okay. Wide receiver. Last year, we already talked about it was Hunter Renfrow, who actually, I think, had the lowest dynasty dollar per point of anybody because he had his $708,987 salary. He got 261.8 dynasty owner fantasy points. So does Renfrow repeat or is it Jay's guy McLaurin?
I think Debo. I think Debo's going to get his contract. I think Niners are going to keep him, but he's still going to keep a good contract in Dynasty Owner. So I would go with Debo.
Okay. I think it'll be Renfrow again. I mean, his salary is so much lower than everybody else's that it's really hard for it not to be him. So I mean, if he puts up decent, last year he was ridiculous because he was so good for so cheap. I mean, even if he puts up pedestrian numbers, it's hard for somebody to beat him. Like Debo would have to score double the points, which is possible. I mean, Debo scored a lot of points last year, but
1.8, right?
Yeah. He's like 1.8. So like you could even throw in a guy like Deontay Johnson because he's barely over $1 million, but he still has to produce pretty well. And, you know, him and McLaurin aren't bad answers because McLaurin's a little under $1 million and Deontay's a little over $1 million. It's just a question of whether can Johnson outscore McLaurin by that much, by enough to make him lower, cheaper.
Unless DK goes off and ends up having a crazy year or something too.
DK is also possible because he's like 1.1, I think. So and AJ Brown 1.4 if he meshes with Hurts and does really well. That's the cheapest stack in Dynasty Owner this year.
Hurts and really, yeah, that makes sense.
That's like $3 million. That's like $3 million in salary for those two guys.
One quarterback, one.
Yeah,
not bad.
Good tip if you're in a startup.
Yeah, good little.
And you don't hate the Eagles.
Yeah, you don't want too many of them. Don't want too many of them.
Well, if you're gonna have some, have those two. All right, and last, and this one's gonna be harder because last year at tight end the winner was Mark Andrews because he was the number one tight end and he had an $863,000 salary, but this year he makes $14 million, so he has no chance of being the cheapest player dynasty dollars per point. So Jay said Freiermuth, which isn't a bad guess.
Right? Yeah, I think it would be a lock for him unless he doesn't get hurt because there's no one that's a top 10, top 15 tight end that's getting paid less than 3-4 million other than Freiermuth. I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it too as we were talking about it. Oh, nope, nope. Nope, I forgot. There's one guy.
Who?
Anybody? And let's see if anybody can get it. I wouldn't have got it. I'll admit I looked and forgot about him. Forgot how cheap he is.
What like what AFC, NFC?
AFC.
I don't know. Who?
Dawson Knox.
Oh, and I have him in so many.
880,000.
Yeah. I have him in like half my leagues too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, but you have to think. But I mean, you have to think about it. You have to be like, okay, who's really, really cheap? And then, I mean, you could have guessed Brevin Jordan. He's under $1 million. If he plays decently, he could be better than Freiermuth. He doesn't need to have as many points as Freiermuth. He just has to have close to.
Right.
I mean, if Albert O, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, may embarrass myself. If Albert O is the tight end in Denver and does pretty well, it could be him. His salary is just over $1 million. But yeah, Knox is probably the most likely answer to that one because of $880,000. He's just kind of really low.
Right.
But okay. These are not easy questions because you have to, without thinking about it, you have to think about the salaries and you have to think about who's going to be good. Right. I mean, quarterback and wide receiver are easier because those guys still are holding their value, but tight end was tough because, the answer was Mark Andrews until this year, and now it's obviously not him. And then you have to think about who else has low salaries.
Yep.
So, all right. Anything else we should be talking about? I know some people wanted me to talk about rookie draft ADPs. I think we'll probably try to do that next week because I can get the ADPs and I can also find outliers. For example, like we talked last week about Justin Ross, who was taken number 3 in one of my drafts overall, and his ADP is like in the 30s. So I might ask you to kind of pull me some of those things, Nick, and kind of look around and see if we can find any of those, to find some interesting tidbits of like a guy who's in the, maybe he's got an ADP of like 5, but somebody got him with the 15th pick.
One time, yeah. One of those weird.
Well, there's so many leagues. There's so many leagues that we have in Dynasty Owner that something like that is bound to happen. You just have to kind of find it. I mean, it's not outside the realm. The only reason I know about the Justin Ross situation is because I'm in that league.
Right.
I mean, if it happened in some other league that I don't know about, yeah, I'm not finding out about that unless I get some draft information or unless somebody in the chat says, "Oh, I'm in league, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5," and somebody took, Isaiah Spiller with the 1. You'd be like, "Whoa."
Yeah. We could. Yeah, I'm sure we could find some of those. Get that information. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll try to work on that. So, okay. Very good. Well, this was fun, Nick. Thanks for subbing for Tim. I appreciate it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. We don't get super low ratings and they cancel us.
Hopefully. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. All right. In case you don't know, you can follow me on Twitter at StevieT33. Dynasty Owner is at Dynasty_Owner. Please smash the like button if you even stop by for a couple of minutes. If you have commissioner questions, send your email to nickcommish@dynastyowner.com. That's your email. That's what? Commish@dynastyowner.com.
Yeah, commish. Sorry.
Yeah. Don't email me personally.
I'm not giving you personal email out, man. I know what it is, but I'm not giving it out. I gave out the commish one. I'm cool. I'm cool. No. I didn't do that. Don't worry. I'm not doing that.
That's funny.
Hit me up on Twitter, DM if you want Nick's personal cell phone number, though.
Yeah, you got it.
Nick, I cannot do that because Nick has mine, and then he'll just send you mine, and then I'm in trouble there. So yeah, we're not doing that. Very good. Thanks for joining, Nick. Have a good day. Thanks everybody for joining. Hit the like button, please. Help Dynasty Owner out. Hopefully we'll be back next week at the 4 o'clock. Probably maybe at the 4 o'clock hour. We'll see. It's summer. I got a kid. My schedule's crazy. So. All right. Thanks, Nick. Have a good one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.